Spring practice is underway, and we've got plenty to talk about kind of surrounding spring practice with the fact there were some very interesting visits last weekend. And Mike, first and foremost, we have to talk about Justin Scott, one of the premier defensive linemen in the country. Seemed like he's been interested in Notre Dame for quite amount of time. And before I get your thoughts on him visiting, we had this conversation a moment ago. Rarely do you find a player on defense that brings the buzz that it's almost like he's a quarterback that's visiting Notre Dame. This is a defensive lineman visiting, and I think he gets a lot of buzz at blueandgold.com.
And we also talked about before we started recording that we talk about what the people are interested in. If people really wanted to talk about Notre Dame or hear about Notre Dame, tennis recruiting, that's what we would do. We go what people are interested in, and I mean it's not hard to see that people love Justin Scott. I mean he's 6'5", 310 pounds. He's a 5-star. He's from Chicago, St. Ignatius. He's got offers from everyone. And Notre Dame's been very involved with him for, close to a year or so. And yeah, people want to know about Justin Scott, and Irish fans want him badly to wear the blue and gold. And, it was definitely good for Notre Dame to get him back on campus. First time in 8 months, Darren.
Well, I noticed last weekend it seemed like Justin Scott for a while was attached at the hip of head coach Marcus Freeman. There's videos and pictures of him with Marcus Freeman. How did the visit go?
By all accounts, really well. And, Blue and Gold's Kyle Kelly had some really good stuff on him. Your traditional interview with the player, Kyle had a really good story on that, but also Kyle wrote an observations piece about hey, I was at the practice. I got to see Justin Scott observe the defense line coach, who kind of wrote a sights and sounds article, which is pretty cool. And here was a quote from Scott in the interview. "I'm a mama's boy, so I can't be too far from my mom. Notre Dame being an hour and a half away, that plays a huge role." So that's what Scott had to say to Kelly. So that was obviously a really good quote for Notre Dame fans to read. And yeah, in talking to multiple sources on the Notre Dame side of things, Darren, pretty encouraging. I mean, Notre Dame folks definitely think that the Irish have pulled, ahead. If they were lagging behind, Notre Dame folks feel really good. But here's the thing, Darren, you could feel really good right now, but as we know, recruiting's a roller coaster, and especially with these 5-star guys. Then there's another recruit out there, a 4-star linebacker called Peyton Pierce. He just visited Ohio State, and it looks like the Buckeyes now lead for him. But the longer he goes from that visit, as time passes on and he hasn't committed, the better it looks for Notre Dame. It's kind of the opposite here. Notre Dame's now surging ahead and looking really good for Justin Scott. But the longer he goes, and then he takes an official to Georgia, and he takes a trip to Ohio State, then you don't feel as confident. So you got to keep getting him back on campus, keep working hard. I would expect Scott to get back to South Bend probably for the Blue Gold game the weekend of April 22nd. So that will be huge. Yeah, Notre Dame's going to keep battling here, Darren. It's a huge recruit for the Irish. I mean, him on tape, I mean, he's just a fantastic player. So, I don't like to say a can't miss prospect, but, how many 5-star defensive linemen, are there in Chicago? Do they happen? Sure. But how often? It's not too often.
You made the comment, or you showed the comment, I should say, about how Justin was talking about being close to home. That helps. And I'm looking at some of the names of the schools that he is still interested in. You mentioned a couple of them. Georgia, Miami is high on the list. Yep. Are there many other Midwest schools that are at least on his radar right now that could be classified as within driving distance for his mom?
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State from Chicago's what, 5 hours or so. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I really think it's Notre Dame, Georgia, Ohio State, Miami. I think those are maybe Michigan, and that's what, about 4 hours, give or take. I think that's about it, Darren. So that's the Midwest rundown. It's really just looking like Notre Dame, Ohio State, maybe Michigan on the outside looking in.
Who knows? Maybe Justin Scott will be like Drake Bowen, who at the end of the day, it became more important to play closer to home. At first, it wasn't a big a deal, and then it became important. It could be the same thing for Justin Scott. So he's got a lot of official visits to take. So I assume we're going to have to wait probably a little while before he makes his final college choice.
Yeah, I would maybe before senior season, somewhere this
Okay.
summer. If he's going to knock out officials, and start in the spring, I would. This is the timeline really for Notre Dame with most of their top targets. Get them on campus during the fall of their junior season. Let's just start there. I mean, really, you can go back to their sophomore year, but let's just start like fall of junior season. Get them on campus for a game or two, then get them on campus again for that January junior day and or the March junior day, the blue gold game. Get them on campus there. Spring or summer official visits. Those 3 or 4 weekends in June that Notre Dame will have official visit weekends. Get them on campus then. Lock them up before the senior season. That's the timeline. It's looking good. Like Notre Dame has got them on campus last summer, didn't get in on campus in the fall, and that's when guys like me were like, this is not looking good for Notre Dame. Why is the Chicago kid not getting to Notre Dame, for a game? Get him on campus in March. He couldn't in January, snowstorm, basketball, whatever going on. Gets on campus in March. Looks like blue gold game is possible, very strong possibility. Summer official visit. Does he take an OV to Notre Dame? Hey, he doesn't have to. If he's got 5, why take an all expenses paid trip to a place you can drive an hour and a half to? I still think he'll probably end up taking one to Notre Dame. Yeah, I think things are looking up for Notre Dame here.
He is Mike Singer, Notre Dame football recruiting insider, Blue and Gold Illustrated, blueandgold.com. Wasn't just Justin Scott on campus last weekend visiting. What else happened noteworthy among some of the other visitors last weekend?
Yeah, I had an article at blueandgold.com titled The Gold Standard where I really ran through, hey, here's everything I'm hearing, talking to the recruits, sources close to them, sources on the Notre Dame side of things. So definitely encourage folks to check that out. We have a current promotion right now for 4 months for $10. I mean, come on. One of these articles is worth your time for $10, and then you get 4 months of content plus the message board. So head to blueandgold.com, check that out. Just real quick, Darren, 3 visitors. I mean, there's seriously so many guys to talk about who are on campus this weekend. Ray Moore, peculiar tight end from Missouri. Jaden Riddell on 3 ranks him as the number 1 tight end in the country. He plays on that same 7-on-7 team as CJ Carr, Notre Dame's quarterback commit. That connection could be pretty good for Notre Dame. And I should be seeing both of those guys at a 7-on-7 tournament in Tennessee this weekend. So might have some good stuff to talk about next week and some good clips to show on our YouTube channel. But yeah, Riddell had a good visit from what I'm told. Notre Dame should be in contention for one of his official visits. John Mitchell, this is a huge one for Notre Dame. Darren, when you think Notre Dame recruiting in Jacksonville, not a ton comes to mind. Lewis Nix was from Jacksonville. Rest in peace. But otherwise, I want to say he was, but not a ton for Notre Dame in Jacksonville, at least up to my knowledge. But Notre Dame looking like they're battling Penn State. I know he's visiting the Nittany Lions this weekend, and that is a pretty big visit. But Notre Dame, I know he had a fantastic, Notre Dame did a fantastic job hosting Mitchell. His brother went to Harvard, so academics really important here to the family. How about this one? James Flanagan. His father, Jim Flanagan, former defensive lineman for the Irish, some 30 odd years ago, and tight end out of Wisconsin, the 2025 recruiting class. Probably seems like just a matter of time before Flanagan ends up on Notre Dame's commitment list. But you never know how these things play out. But do like where the Irish are at there, especially coming off of his visit.